What's going on YouTube? It's Brody with Couch Potato Hoops bringing you another video today. Today we're going to be talking about Cooper Flagg and his 9-game slow start. Now in this video we're going to discuss Cooper Flagg's individual struggles as a player, talk about how the Mavericks have misused him. Finally, we're going to discuss what Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks can do to improve the outcome of the Mavericks' first season without Luka Doncic. Alright, so before we start talking about Cooper Flagg, on this channel, I'm a passionate ball lover. On this channel, I'm a passionate basketball lover that's always looking to learn more. So if you're interested in joining me on that journey, I would really appreciate it if you go down below, drop a like, and subscribe. With that said, let's get into the video.
Yama has 3 fouls himself. Davis does start the second half on the floor. Flagg is finally. Here's Flagg flipping it up and in. Aggressive take for Cooper Flagg. Castle now with 6 assists to go with his 6 boards and 18 points. Flagg fading and hitting. Back-to-back buckets for the #1 overall pick, Cooper Flagg.
Trey Johnson following up 16 in game 1 with 13 so far in game 2. Goes spin cycle and takes it to the basket to jam it home. Rebound for Najee Marshall. The Skins point, PJ's at the table. Cooper.
Alright, so over this 9-game stretch, Cooper Flagg has only averaged 14 points per game on a pretty poor 40% shooting from the field. And it doesn't get much better from 3 because he's only shooting 28%. Now, there are like 3 main areas that I think Cooper Flagg is struggling with in the beginning of this season. And for me, it seems to be his very predictable ball handling. And then it's his decision making and it's his confidence, especially his confidence in his shot. His ball handling seems like at its peak, it's just going to be functional ball handling. He's going to be able to hopefully get to his spots and then be able to make a decision out of that. Now, with that said, I don't expect him to be Kyrie Irving. I don't expect him to be Paul George. I don't expect him to have this flashy handle. But what I am hoping is that he can have a little bit more creativity so that he can find different ways to fight to his spots. With that lack of creativity, something I'm also noticing is that it seems that he just happens to find himself in a spot and then rises up from there. So Cooper Flagg, what he'll do is he'll go and he'll usually drive off a screen and then he'll just try to force himself to the rim. And if he has to pick his dribble up before then, he just finds himself in this situation, whether it's with space or not, and he's like, oh, do I pass out? Do I shoot it? Do I? You actively see him thinking that while he's on the court. He really seems to struggle to get to a spot and rise up and make it this one fluid move. Often I'll see him, he'll drive, he'll give this person a beautiful bump, he'll go boom, and create so much space, but then from there he's like, I've created this space, but I'm not next to the basket like I was hoping, so he doesn't know what to do with the ball from there. And this is so disappointing because you see an opportunity where he's created so much space. If he would just confidently from that bump and then step back into a mid-range jump shot confidently, you could see him being a very impressive mid-range scorer, even as a rookie. Now, I think some of this is just confidence. He doesn't have the confidence in his shot. He doesn't have the confidence in his tools. He's a little bit shaky. And honestly, you could see that in his first NBA game. I wasn't worried about Cooper Flagg after his first NBA game. He started off very rough, but he was a rookie that coming into this, I knew that his game was primarily going to be predicated on slashing. It was going to be based on attacking the rim, looking for opportunities for layups, dunks, athletic and strong moves. That's what he did before. That's what he did well before, and that's what he's going to do well now, of course. But in his first game, he obviously got dominated by Victor Wembanyama, who has been on, of course, an absolute defensive tear, but he's also been dominating a lot of teams offensively as well. Now, obviously, you don't expect a rookie who is primarily a slasher to do well against the best rim protector that we've ever seen play this game. But if the struggles ended there, I would totally understand that. And honestly, I don't even know what the NBA was thinking putting Cooper Flagg in that situation. But we get to game 2, we expect him to have a better game, and he does have a marginally better game. And then I think even in the next one, he scored more points, but it was still on quite, pretty abysmal efficiency. But ultimately, it just did seem like, oh, maybe he's trending in the right direction. He's still having rookie struggles, but maybe there's something there. And then he goes on a run. I think in the next game he has. All right, so yeah, after we see him have this potential upward trend, he had 10 points the first game, horrible efficiency. He had 18 the next game. Okay, maybe some things are fixed. And then he has 22 the next game, and it's like, oh, okay, Cooper Flagg is arriving. He's actually going to do this. And then against OKC, which, to be fair, it's Oklahoma City. They were the best perimeter defense we've ever seen last year, if y'all forgot. So, of course, Cooper Flagg, oh gosh, you'd expect him to do better than this, especially because they don't have a defender that can match Cooper Flagg's size and strength, athleticism, all those things. Cooper Flagg had a whopping 2 points. 2 points that game. And then since then, it's been 15 poor shooting, 16 poor shooting, 12 poor shooting. Oh, he had a little 20-point game. Poor shooting, though. 8 for 19. 19 shots to get 20 points. And I'm sure that all ESPN said was, oh, 20 points. He got 20 points. But it's like, man, he has the physical tools and he has the capability to do anything on the court, but we're just not seeing that from him. And that's what's been most disappointing about Cooper Flagg, is that we see somebody who has the physical tools to create the space needed to make the shots. It seems like his confidence has been rattled. I'm wondering, did that first game just feel so overwhelming that he's shook now? Or is this going to be something that we're going to have to see him build throughout his rookie season? He's going to have moments that slowly build his confidence, teammates that slowly build his confidence, so that he can eventually fulfill the potential that I really think that he can. It's just, will the Mavericks allow him to do that? So in summation, Cooper, he's struggling with ball handling. That's something that I think just through reps he'll get better at. The best ball handler we've ever seen on his team. So I think that there is potential that he can just get some decent tips and become a better functional ball handler. I also, obviously his decisiveness, he just needs to get better about okay, I'm going to drive in and I'm going to look for my mid-range shot. I'm not just going and seeing what I can get. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to send that bump that's so lethal, and I'm going to rise up from there and get a good shot off. His threes, I think, just need to be assisted, but we'll get more into that. So the Mavericks have greatly misused him. Some of this is just Jason Kidd getting back to his antics of putting players at point guard that don't quite belong there. And some of this is also, I think that they're still looking to fill that playmaking void that they have in general, because right now it's just D'Angelo Russell, who can be a fine starting point guard sometimes, but he isn't the point guard that the Mavericks need, it feels like. They need someone more substantial, less turnover prone, that's not looking to do the highlights, that will do the dirty work. Now, the Mavericks have been trying to put Cooper Flagg in this role. They've been trying to put him as the primary playmaker and the sole playmaker of this team. Cooper Flagg, and to me, it feels like that Jeremy Sochan kind of thing, where the Spurs put him at point guard. Everybody was talking trash about it and hated it. But ultimately, that did improve Jeremy Sochan's, or Sohan's, my boy, improve his playmaking to where now he's looked at, okay, he's a good playmaking four. He is not a point guard of a team. He should not be running the offense of a team. But he is a good playmaking power forward, and people view him as that. I think the same thing is happening with Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is a solid playmaker. I think he projects to be a solid playmaker. I think the more that he plays out of the post, the more that we're going to see this. And then also, like, just with them being a more transition-oriented team, we are going to see his open court playmaking. And I think that that's going to be something that will be quite excellent, whether that's out of the gate or because the Mavericks are so dysfunctional, it's hard to say what's on Cooper himself. But I think that that's something that we're going to see develop more throughout the season. I also think that once they start building more around him, we will see Cooper playmaking out of the post and attacking out of the post more, attacking mismatches and just being a lot more composed post scorer. But they have been miscasting him as a point guard. And with that said, this roster is really not built for a player like Cooper. We're seeing very limited playmaking when primarily he should be looked at as a play finisher. He should be having a lot more assisted buckets, a lot more opportunities where he is operating out of the short roll, operating out of the pick and pop, things like that. And I also think that the Mavericks need to implement a more screen-heavy offense. I'll see Cooper driving into the paint, and I see no movement. And I don't even see anybody looking to cut into the paint so that he can have an easier assist. I don't see people rotating along the three-point line. I see zero other threats other than the person with the ball who is driving. Another issue that I see is a clogged paint. And this is a guy that's going to be primarily a slasher throughout his career, primarily a post player throughout his career. I think he is going to be a guy that does have a face-up game and does do some moves to get his shot off. But, like, primarily I think he's most comfortable in the post, most comfortable slashing when he's in the face-up and when he's on the perimeter. This team does not have the shooting necessary to accommodate a guy like that, and they don't have the game plan to get him easy looks at the rim to compensate for the lack of shooting on the court when Cooper's there. And ultimately, that does lead to a difficult environment for an interior presence such as Cooper Flagg to thrive. What seemed like a great opportunity he was going into fall apart because we're really seeing the deficiencies of this team highlighted. Anthony Davis doesn't want to play center. He wants to be a power forward. He has to have a center next to him in order to do that. Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford are really good centers. They're not floor spacers. And neither is Anthony Davis. No matter how much he pretends he can shoot the ball, he can't. So we're seeing Cooper Flagg, who's a primary slasher, who probably should have been a 4 coming into the league, being forced into the 3 spot, and for some reason being forced into the point guard spot. I just don't understand the Mavericks, and I don't understand how we were tricked into thinking that this was going to be some championship contenders team that lacks shooting, they lack playmaking, and really all that they have is defense, and even that isn't looking so great because their perimeter defense seems to be lacking so much. And when you have no perimeter defense, even if you have a great interior defense, which they do have one of the better ones in the league, you still get carved up. You get dominated from 3. And then when you have no offense at all, how are you expected to do anything? And this has led to them being the worst team. I don't know if it's the worst team in the league, but they're the worst in the conference. Oh my gosh, what is their record right now? It's 2-7. They've got 2 wins, and that's against, Toronto, which is a mid team at this point. And then, who else? Indiana without Tyrese Halliburton. So, what kind of wins are those? Now, with all of that said, I don't want to just be a downer this whole video. I do want to talk about how this team could improve. But ultimately, I think that this season is less about playoff contention. It's less about being a great team. It's less about being a contender. I think that this is more about Cooper Flagg. I think that you could have a horrible season as a team, but it looked like less of a failure because Cooper Flagg ended up turning out pretty good. How do you do that? How do you do that when he's struggling so heavily? And when there seem to be a lot of holes in his game that are going to keep him from being looked at as the next great player? Well, I think what you need to do is first implement movement in the offense. When he has the ball, there needs to be off-ball movement, off-ball actions, so that there can be confusion on the court so that he can attack mismatches. Also with that, he needs to have a lot more of inverted pick and rolls. And honestly, I think what would be really interesting is if they did an inverted pick and roll, he gets it out to D'Lo, he then settles in the post to get good position, gets the ball, and then can dominate from there. So just a lot more off-ball action so that there's confusion, so that he has space, and then also a lot more switching and attacking mismatches. Now, that is not the primary way that we make Cooper Flagg look better and that we make his rookie season look better. The primary way, I think, is a lot more finishing stuff. So I think Cooper needs to be in a situation where he is coming off of screens so that he can get opportunities at the rim. I'd like to see more three-point shots, more corner shots, stuff like that, him getting comfortable coming off of picks. I also just want to see him involved in actions and pick and rolls a lot more. Allow him to operate as more of this play finishing big so that he just gets easier opportunities, because this is the Cooper Flagg confidence reclamation project. That's what the rest of this season is. It really is just about Cooper Flagg's decisiveness and his confidence. Now, with all this said, I would love to hear what you think the Mavericks can do to turn this season around, or just what they can do to improve Cooper Flagg's rookie season. I'll be in the comments down below chatting it up with y'all. All right, so with that said, I'm Brody, and this has been Couch Potato Hoops. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.